Good morning, homesteaders. I have made a video about my attempt to make a week's worth of breakfast to stick in the freezer for my family. I noticed that my family just needed a little bit more to eat in the morning, and I am not a morning person, so night me to the rescue. Most of this was done between the hours of 8 p.m. and midnight because I am a night owl. So I hope that you enjoy. Toward the end, my toddler decided to throw a fit and death stare me from the living room. So that's mildly entertaining now that you know what's going on in that. I'm also having a couple problems with copyright content with music, so I hope the transitions aren't too sketchy for you. Bear with me while I get it figured out. But this should give you some great ideas about freezer breakfasts that you can make for your family and hopefully inspire you and maybe help you in doing something you hadn't thought of before. So come join me while we learn to cook, and hopefully you can ignore any toddler noises you do here. So I'm going to be making breakfasts, and I'm going to be making them in these disposable pans I got at Dollar Tree because my family needs bigger breakfasts, and I haven't been giving them bigger breakfasts, and so I need to work on giving them bigger breakfasts. So that's what this video is going to be about: bigger breakfasts, but simpler for mom. Now I have a list of what I'm going to be making. The first one is going to be eggs and toast. Should be simple enough. Homemade bread. I'm going to cut it up into slices. Alright, I've got my bread all sliced, and I'm just going to set it here on one end. And now I'm going to work on scrambling up some eggs. And I'll put it in there, and that's going to be it for the first meal. Put a little salt and pepper in the eggs, and then we'll cook them up. A little bit of homemade butter to go in the pan to cook up the eggs, and while the eggs are cooking, I'm going to start on my next dish. My next easy breakfast is going to be bacon, sausage, and potatoes. So I'm going to go ahead and start prepping all of that and getting it into the pan. We like to leave the peels on, extra nutrition, so I'm going to go scrub them up and bring them over here to chop. Okay, I'm going to cube up these potatoes into like home fry size. Now I'm going to take the potatoes, put them in one side of my foil pan, and coat them with some lard that I rendered just the other day. My house is kind of warm, so my lard is still liquidy. But that means that as this cooks, I'm only going to put a little bit. As it cooks, it'll crisp up a little bit, which means my kids are more likely to eat it. Put a bit of pepper and salt on there. And give it a gentle stir. On the other side, I'll be adding bacon and sausage, just loosely piled in there, and cooking it up that way. So I've got a pack of bacon, and I'm actually going to cut it straight down the middle so that each bacon strip goes a little bit further, because my boys love bacon, and they don't care how big the strip is. One strip counts as one strip. So this helps spread it out amongst my family members a little bit easier. I'm just going to lay this in there in little floppy pieces. My husband prefers crispy bacon, but my kids are less picky. I'll go ahead and save this small amount for another meal, and I'll get working on the sausage here after I stir my eggs. Alright, I found some pork sausage for only like $1.80 a pound, so we're going to go ahead and form our own sausages instead of using the pre-formed kind. So here is meal number 2. It's my first son's favorite, so we'll be having it on Monday, which is his day to do all of his things. His day to do his laundry, his day to pick the movie, things like that. So I'll put it over here. I'm still working on finishing the eggs for this one, but I'll go ahead and cover this in foil because it's ready. My eggs are still cooking, so I'm going to move on to my next thing, which is a fruit cobbler. I'm going to move my meat stuff out of the way because I may use some of it in other meals. This time I think I'm going to do an apple cobbler, so I have a quart jar of apple pie filling and a quart jar that's about halfway full, really, of an attempt at red hot apples without the actual red hot candies, just with a lot of cinnamon. So this one's not thickened, but we'll go ahead and add the fruit from this one with the apple pie filling, since this pan is larger than a normal pie pan. But first I'm going to work on the topping. Because I'm trying to save dishes, I'm going to go ahead and use another one of these pans to make the topping, because another thing I'm going to be making is baked oatmeal. So I don't mind getting some oatmeal stuff in that one already. So let's go ahead and make our topping. My eggs are ready for me to put into my pan. To make the cobbler topping, I take some butter, there you go. I don't know, that's probably about half a stick, maybe a third of a stick of butter. Since I make it at home, I don't really have the little thing to measure it. And then some quick oats, let's say half cup or a cup, depending on what you like. This one has bread ends in it for another recipe. It does not have flour in it. A little bit of flour, probably about a quarter cup. And then brown sugar. about a 1/4 cup pack. And then you use a fork or a pastry blender if you have one to just blend it together and kind of chop up the butter into it and mix it up. Trying desperately to do this without getting a double chin. If you want to add salt, cinnamon, anything else like that, you can at this point. It's up to you. I know that it's going to taste pretty good the way that I have it with my canned fruits. So I'm going to go with this route. Okay, and like I said, I'm just mixing it in one pan, and then I'll pour it on top because I'll use this pan for another meal. I don't have to wash a bowl. I'm going to go ahead and open this one first just in case I get too much liquid in there. I've reserved the liquid, so now I can just go ahead and put it in my pan. I used Three Rivers Homestead's apple pie filling recipe. She's really how I got into this whole thing. Not the homesteading part, but like getting on YouTube and stuff. And I really admire her, and so definitely go check out her videos if you have not already. And look up her apple pie filling. It's really good. I love it. It's great. All right, so now I'll bring it closer so you can see. I've got my apple pie filling plus a little bit of the cinnamon apples in there, and I'm going to just put a little topping on it. The next thing I'm going to be making for Wednesday is a German pancake. Now, back to Three Rivers Homestead, she makes something called the Walls of Jericho, and it's really similar. I'm making a German pancake or oven pancake, and like I said, it's really similar. If you like her recipe, go ahead and try it out. My recipe goes 3 eggs, 1/2 cup of flour, 1/2 cup of milk, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And then you just top it however you'd like. But we're going to make mine plain, and I may double it. I'll see how it looks in the pan. And we can just top it with some canned scrappy apple jam that I make. That would be amazing. All right, so I'm going to get going on that. Starts with 3 eggs. I rinsed this out from earlier, so I'm going to go ahead and use this. These are our homegrown from our chickens' eggs. They were in the refrigerator because these are a few weeks old. We had been using from the wrong end, and we noticed that a couple were going bad, and I was like, oh, you're supposed to be using from this bin, but we had been using from a different one. So we float tested them all throughout the bad ones, but then you got to refrigerate them after you float test them. So these are the ones that we're using first now. So they look like they're store-bought, but we just have white leghorns that lay beautiful white eggs. 3 eggs. And you know what? I know my family. They're going to want way more than that. So we're just going to go ahead and double it. 6 eggs. Since we're doubling, we're going to use a full cup of flour. This is my half cup measure. I'm going to go ahead and use whole wheat flour this time. 1, 2. If anyone knows a great place to get whole wheat flour for cheaper than you can get the King Arthur brand in the stores, please let me know, because I love whole wheat flour, but the price, oh my gosh. All right. Next is half a cup of milk if you're doing the regular, and since we're doubling it, we're going to do a full cup of milk. If you have a Dollar Tree nearby, get some shelf-stable milk, because we ran out of regular milk before our shopping day, and I had this on the shelf. And while I don't personally like the flavor for drinking, it's absolutely perfect for literally anything else. So. If you've made it this far in the video, please comment. I learned that comments really help with the YouTube algorithm, so that more people can see what I'm doing right here. Even if it's just a smiley face, or like, I'm too shy to comment, but yeah. And then it says a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, so we'll just do a little pinch of salt. Whisk it up, and we'll just pour it in the pan. I may go ahead and grease the pan a little bit with my lard first. I'm glad I doubled it, because, yeah, my family of 7 definitely gonna need at least this much. I'll go ahead and put a little lard on here and just drizzle it around and run it around the pan so that it's less likely to stick when it's baked. Don't be afraid of touching lard. You're going to put lotion on later, might as well do it now. Besides, then your hands smell like bacon. Funny story, actually. A couple of years ago, I was out with some friends, and we were having dinner, and we were laughing and stuff, and one of my friends, while laughing, went down to put her hand on mine, you know, just like as an expression of how funny something was, and she's like, oh, you have such soft hands. And then she was like feeling my hands, and everyone else wanted to feel my hands, and like, you have such soft hands. What do you use? And I'm like, honestly, bacon grease. And they were just absolutely shocked. But you know what? It's a protectant, and it's natural, and it works. And I got soft hands. They were pretty shocked about it. So, all right, we're gonna go ahead and pour our German pancake batter into here and get out as much as we can to not waste any. Give it another quick stir just in case there's any clumps. Since it's real runny, I won't tip it too much, but you can see it's a runny batter, and so I'll make sure to get this really flat in the freezer. I'll get a foil to cover it and label it, and that'll be our German pancake. It bakes for 25 minutes, but that's assuming that it's defrosted. So I guess we'll see how it turns out. All right, next. The next thing is baked French toast. So what I'm going to do is mix up egg and cinnamon sugar batter and get all my little random crusts of bread that I can, fill up a pan and pour that over it and call it a day. I've got a nice pan full of bread, and I just had a wonderful inspiration. I'm going to use the apple cinnamon syrup from the canned apples and make this an apple cinnamon flavored French toast. Alright, I don't feel like that was quite enough liquid, so I'll go ahead and make some more liquid with some more eggs and a little bit of the milk. Alright, I feel like that's pretty good. Just top of these. And we'll just bake this until it's done. And that's Thursday. I took a moment to tidy up a little bit and get ready to do my baked oatmeal. So it's basically just like setting it up for cooking it, but then you just don't cook it until you're ready to use it. So I'm going to fill up my pan with some quick cooking oats. And I'm going to put raisins in there. The last of my raisins. These are some lucky kids. And just spread it around a little bit. You get to put applesauce or whatever. I'm going to put a little bit of brown sugar. So you can see. Alright. Just sprinkle some brown sugar on it. And then some dollops of butter. And then I'm going to put water over it. I'm not using milk. I'm going to use water. But it's the jar that had my spiced apples in it, so it'll have a lot of the cinnamon from the bottom mixed in there too. So let's get some butter in there. Just going to put it in a couple little spots because it'll melt when it's being cooked. If you want to see how I make my own butter and dairy, I do have a video on that. I reuse the heavy whipping cream container to hold my butter. Alright, and then just water. I'm sure some people do it fancier than I do. But this will fill hungry bellies. And then cover it, and that's Friday. The last breakfast that I'm making today is biscuits and gravy. And I'm making that because my husband and I like it. My kids actually not huge fans. They'll eat the biscuits with jelly and stuff, but they're not a big fan of gravy. So we'll just make that in a little separate container, and biscuits and gravy. Alright, so let's make some biscuits. My recipe starts with 3 cups of flour. So I've got whole wheat flour, and I'll measure out 3 cups. Next it calls for baking powder, sugar, salt, cream of tartar. Okay, so I'll do those and then I'll let you know what's next. It calls for 3/4 of a cup of butter or lard. I'm going to go ahead and use lard, but I will give this a quick stir first. Cutting in my lard, and I'll be adding a cup of buttermilk, my own home cultured buttermilk. And I'll bring you back once it's all in the dough. I've got them all pressed out into dough, and I decided to just press it all out into my pan and cut it into squares. And I'm going to bake it like this. Bake it at 400 for, I don't know, till it's done. Got my biscuits baked, and then I moved half of them over to this side, and I've made a little spot for me to put gravy in so that the kids can have biscuits without gravy if they want. And so now I'm going to go make gravy. I'll be using the pork that I didn't use earlier. Once the sausage starts to brown up a little bit and release some of its fat, I'll mix in some flour and then some water because I don't have any broth open and I'm not going to open a jar for it. So add some salt and pepper and things like that and make a simple gravy and pour it in there. I'll let you know when I've got that done. Just enough oil flowing in there that I'm going to go ahead and add the flour and make a roux and then add the water. Now that I've got the gravy done, and I did have to thicken it a little bit more with some cornstarch. Now that I've gotten my gravy done, I'll just go ahead and pour it into this little reservoir. And I'll let it cool some before I try to put it away. And that wraps up all of my breakfasts for a week. We'll see how it goes experiment-wise, and I think no matter what, even if this only lasts a week and I don't do it ever again, it's still going to be a really great week of really good food for my family, and I think everyone's going to really enjoy it. And I'm looking forward to one of them for tomorrow. Thanks very much for joining me. I hope that the transitions in the video were not too disjointed. I'm running into a little bit of copyright problems with music on YouTube, so this time I just decided not to use any of the music on my video editor. So hopefully all the transitions weren't too messy, and hopefully you did get something out of the video. I'm kind of new to this. If you have any tips, please let me know. I'd love to learn. And also, thanks for joining me. Let me know what you guys like to have for breakfast, especially if you have a big family that has big appetites. And yeah. All right. God bless y'all. Come find me on Instagram, Tracy's Homestead with an EY. And have a lovely, lovely day. Bye. By the end of that video, even I was exhausted. Night owl that I am. It was about midnight and everybody was asleep except for me, and I wanted to wrap that up. So just so you know, we all get tired. We all feel like we're just scratching at the very end to get it done. And you know what? It still got done. And I was really glad that now in my freezer, I have 7 meals that I really don't have to think about at all, except to take them out and put them on the counter the night before. So Let me know if you've ever done something like this. Also, if you happen to know a thing or two about making YouTube videos and things, feel free to message me because I could use a little bit of help on smoothing things out. Thank you very, very much for watching. It really makes my day to know that other people are watching and seeing things that I really enjoy doing. God bless you all, and I'll see you on the next Tracy's Homestead video. Come see me on Instagram at Tracy's Homestead with an EY. Okay, God bless.